Hello, everyone. This is Truth and Oneness Discussions
with Scorpio
and Aquarius. Anyway, I talked too slow in the introductions. I need to probably fix that. But anyway, so today we're going to be talking about a new video from Flat Earth Universe, I believe, from Martin Kinney. Him and one of his friends, Josh. I don't know if anyone is familiar with Flat Earth Universe, but they put a lot of really cool videos out. But one they put out, I think it was yesterday, it was about plasma, but they also talked about a lot of just awakening things in general. But since this is one of the topics that I enjoy discussing, I figured I would use someone else's video to prompt some discussion points that we could talk about.
Sounds pretty good. All right, so what would you like to discuss first? There's quite a few things that they were touched on, but we're gonna kind of break it down. So we'll start with the topic, discuss a little bit, move on to the next one. So what would you just like to start with?
Okay, so I first should say this is a spoiler alert. So if you haven't seen the video, we're gonna talk about things that are in the video. So if you don't want for us to ruin it for you, you should just go watch the video. We'll put the link. I'll put the link for the video in the discussion. What is it? The underneath our video, so you can just go watch the description video, whatever. So people can go see the video for themselves. But anyway, so what made me want to watch this video that they put out was the topic of it was plasma. And it's been a while since I've seen the Awakened community discuss the concept of plasma.
Plasma. I've heard about it before, like in blood and stuff like that. But like, what are they talking about when they're talking about plasma?
So maybe you should watch. I don't remember exactly. No, I'm just kidding. So they only talk about it for like probably the first 30 minutes of the video, I think. They discuss it in depth, but how plasma is pretty much in everything. It's everywhere. Our bodies are made up of 55% plasma. Plasma is the substance of the universe, basically. I think someone mentioned somewhere 99% of the universe is made up of plasma. And plasma that is what makes this whole system work, basically. Plasma. So they talk about plasma, and it was just interesting hearing a different perspective from it, because my introduction to the whole everything's made from plasma was I think it was like a year ago, and I ran into some Brian Austin Lambert videos. You guys can look him up. I don't even know if he's still on YouTube, but you can look that up. But the whole plasma and the catastrophe and all of that, the end of the world. And then I started researching it more for my introduction there, but it was just interesting. I guess it was nice having the Awakened community talk about it and not be like, we're all gonna die. You know. Which when I first started researching it a year ago, and that was my introduction to it, it didn't take long to realize that, okay, this is a perspective of it, and yeah, you can look at the history and everything, but I feel like that's not where it's going. It may have gone that way in the past, I don't know, but I feel like that's not where it's going this time. So, you know, so you take everything with a grain of salt, sort of, I guess you could say. Anyway, yeah.
Yeah, definitely there's not going to be some massive catastrophe. The thing is, like, a lot of times people think of catastrophe. We don't know for certain, but a lot of times it's like even the people during those times when there was a catastrophe, they didn't at the time view it as a catastrophe. It just was an event. Like, now we look back on it and we're like, oh my gosh, that was such a horrible thing. We're like, look what happened. It's like we don't even know really what happened for a lot of those things in the first place. So it's like, don't like terrify yourself based on like what people try to fear monger and whatnot. It's like, it's not that big of a deal.
Basically, with their video, it was just nice that they didn't like do the whole fear mongering like point of view of it, because pretty much I won't say everybody. There's been like maybe 2 or 3 other awakening or like truth sort of videos that talk about it, but they also bring in the whole we need to prepare ourselves for impending doom sort of thing. And it was just kind of nice that they just talked about what plasma is and how it's in everything, and it's basically the substance of existence pretty much. And yeah, it was kind of watch the video.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting. So it's definitely something to look into. One of the few groups of people that actually has the Aquarius is talking about that, talk about it in a different way.
And another thing, so I'm just going to go down the list of interesting things that they mentioned, or just things I want to also like discuss a little bit of that they mentioned in the video. So sort of the next thing they're talking about is how we should be preparing our bodies for the ascension process, which that's an interesting, because that's, I think, what we're doing, but it's sort of one of those things, and they mentioned it a lot in the video. That's one reason why I like the Flat Earth universe, because they're like, wherever your path is, your journey is, however you want to experience this whole ascension or change in the earth is where you are, and any way you do it is fine. You can do it the prepare your body way. You could do it just sit kind of an experience and watch things, and then it really depends on the individual consciousness and what they're wanting to experience. But they did talk a little bit about if you are on the path of awakening and like physically cleansing the body and all that stuff, how to do that. And basically distilled water is a very important thing. It helps to cleanse the body and detox the body, and then of course the food that we eat, which they highly energetic foods, foods that are obviously not processed whatsoever, directly from the earth, are the most ideal. But I think they talk a little bit about it more in the video. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I definitely when you're preparing yourself for like how things are going, it's like you kind of have like this drive to eat better, drink better, and whatnot. It's like, and it just starts to feel really uncomfortable. Like even for myself, after drinking distilled water, eating better foods, like even like we used to go and get like pizza or something like that pretty often, or some things along that, like, but now like when you eat that kind of stuff, it feels really heavy. You don't feel that like good afterwards. Like the whole satisfied feeling you normally would get from some of these foods, like it's not there anymore. Now it's like followed up by like uncomfortable. I even stopped drinking coffee because like I didn't like the way it felt anymore. It's like it didn't feel the same. It wasn't like, good morning, let me drink some coffee, like my day is starting off. Now it's like I was drinking coffee, I'm like, why am I even doing this? And so I just stopped, because and I just feel a lot better. It's like I feel like more comfortable, less irritable, more alert. It's like we're just preparing ourselves wholly, and the more you do, the more you are uncomfortable doing it the other way.
Yeah, I think that's one of the what you said. You basically, the most important thing is to listen to your inner self, your body, because you will guide yourself where you need to go, and your body will tell you like what things you should be putting into it and what you shouldn't be. And if you listen, you'll be guided in the direction that you should be. And for some people, that might mean eating one thing, and some people might mean not eating that same thing and eating something else, or not eating anything at all. It depends on the person. And I think the most important thing is to listen to your inner self and your body and follow that. And whatever you feel really comfortable with and makes you feel good, then that's what you should. But that's interesting.
And just so everyone knows, also, it's like, don't worry if like you still like eating dense foods and stuff like that. It's like there's different paths for everybody. It's like, this is just what our particular path is. There's many paths. Just follow what feels right to you. What's up next on the agenda?
It's a good lead into our next topic of what they talked about in the video as well, was like how we're thinking this whole change or ascension thing is, and they talk about, so there's definitely going to be almost a consensus in the whole truth and awakened community of people that are channeling information from higher beings or whatnot. It's pretty much a consensus that yes, there's going to be some sort of a change event or some kind of a shifting in energies or frequencies of the physical realm that we're in right now. And so their next topic I actually wanted to touch on, which I actually wanted to bring up because they were talking about how there's 3 different ways to go through this process. And I think Martin Kinney mentioned one way would be to, don't change, and you end up leaving your physical body. And I believe I think he called it the energy body. Maybe I should watch the video and then maybe, I don't remember. But you leave your two earthly bodies basically behind, and then you would reincarnate back and start over again at the higher frequency.
The light body and the physical body.
Yeah, but I don't remember which one besides the physical body it was. And then like the second way was to leave the physical body and take the other two, and that would be someone who has prepared their body by detoxing it, basically. And then the third way is to take all three bodies to the next level of frequency. So you go completely intact, and that would be, he brought up, it'd be someone who's a breatharian, someone who doesn't eat at all. But I think the reason why I wanted to talk about this was that they mentioned I'm not trying to say anything bad about how they came across in the discussion or anything, but if you do listen to their video, it kind of comes across as like death and dying is like very painful and horrible and like possibly not good or whatever. But I just wanted to kind of talk a little bit about death and all that. I feel like death is not a bad thing at all. Dying and leaving your physical body, that's part of all of this. And if there's these three ways to ascend, basically, whichever way you choose to do is fine. I don't think death is painful. It can be a painful process if you want it to be, if that's how you want to experience it. But I think more leading up to it would be more painful. The actual death itself is not a painful process. And it doesn't have to be a scary process or a painful process or anything. I don't see it as being any different than any of the other two ways of ascending, really, to be honest with you. Like, you could go through this ascension without physically doing anything with your body if you have to do a lot of detoxing. So basically, if you're in category 1, where you have to leave your physical form behind and reincarnate, that's not a bad option. It's good if that is what you want to experience and that's what you want to do. Option 2, taking your other two bodies but leaving
the physical.
Yeah, I actually should have wrote this down because I don't remember the exact
it was the light
categories.
Body, the energy and light, and then the physical energy and light.
Okay. So sorry. Option 2, if you want to detox your physical body to where you can take
the energy
body and the light body with you. That is a perfectly okay way to do it also, if that is what you are wanting to experience. And then the third option, if you want to do the breatharian and take everything with you, if that's really, say these are actually really the three options, like in real life, like I don't know. But either one of them is perfectly fine, depending on how you as your consciousness wants to experience it. And so I don't want people to listen to the video, Flat Earth Universe video, and like get scared or like, oh my God, I gotta do something, I don't want to die, that kind of thing. This is part of experience, all of it. And yeah, we should not fear death or any part of this path or journey, like at all, no matter which path we decide to go on. And I disagree that death is painful, because I think it said it like several times. I think that's why I wrote it down. I'm like, no, don't say that. I guess I could say that directly to them. If I was in this discussion with them, I would be like, wait a minute, you guys, no, wait. But I just want to mention that. But and do you have anything to add to that part?
Yeah, just the recognition of pain is a very physical thing. It's something that your body reacts to from something that, so it'll, most of the time it like stops you from doing something. It's they're trying to show you something. It's actually supposed to be a learning experience, not just something to fear. Like if you break a bone, they're like, oh look, it's painful,
but,
don't keep using it. Yeah, death itself is not painful either, because it's just being like, all right, the body's done being used, don't fear it. It's just being done. It's trying to let you know it's done using it. It's time to move forward, not something to be like, oh my gosh, this hurts so bad, it's over.
Well, okay, so there's physical pain, yeah, but what I'm trying to say is like that the whole death and dying process, doesn't necessarily be it could be like the most painless thing you've ever experienced in your whole entire existence, you know what I mean? And I think there's just a lot of emphasis placed on that this would be really painful, this option one. And I just want to bring up that I really feel that is not true. Let me put it that way. And that's not a bad option, even if you went that route. Also, it kind of, and I'm sure they weren't trying to make it like sound that. That's just the way it came off in the video. But I'm sure they weren't trying to like make it sound like that. But I just want to really emphasize that, if you wanted to die, leave your physical and what is it, light body?
Physical, energy, and light.
But the second,
energy.
Okay, so if you want to leave those two bodies and reincarnate, that's not a bad way to go if you want to do it that way, basically. That's all of them are equally, I feel like all of them are equally good options. There we go. However you want to experience this whole change and ascension and change in energy, whatever, that is the way you should do it. Okay. It is, I think, important, because the whole point of the ascension is to kind of raise your frequency or like your whole just mindset and outlook on everything. And I know that is different for people. Some people, obviously, because we know most of the people we know in our lives are way on the other side of where we are right now. They have no clue, don't want to know what's going on or what's happening. They're perfectly happy living in the matrix system and all that stuff. But in a sense, that's perfectly okay too. Like, that's part of all of this, and that's their path. That's what they're choosing to experience in this existence, and that is that, right?
Yeah, that definitely is that, because it's as you were saying, it's a part of the whole. It's like you can't have one without the other. You can't have all these people. It's like it's just a thing. They came here, they wanted to experience. They really enjoy it. Some people even enjoy the issues that come along with it. Some people enjoy the struggles. Some people don't. Some people enjoy
on a spiritual.
Consciously. They like some people came here to experience like quote unquote suffering, and that's just what they do. And it's like you'll notice some of those people that they do that pretty much their whole life. But the thing is, like, then there's opportunities to come out of it, but they don't, because it's like it's something that they're here just to experience in general. It's not that a bad thing at all.
And also, I guess one was a caveat. Is that the right word? I do realize that in general, this whole in this point in time, there has been sort of I don't want to say a hijacking of this earthly realm. I don't really know what else to call it, where the energies have been sort of not really taken control of, to where it's kind of pushed people into this a cycle of where their choices of experiences have been, I think, somewhat not really taken away, but blindly. Well, they're not as aware of what's happening, I guess, and so it doesn't really complicate things, but in general, you take a step back from even that's still part of the whole experience, you know. I guess you could say, I guess I could put it this way: the chances of you being asleep, we'll call it being asleep, and you not wanting to be asleep, truly, like deep down, are a little bit higher, just because there's some elements of control in place that are keeping you asleep. And that might make the difference of as far as you're on your path. This is what you want to experience. This is what your souls want to experience. It may not be 100%. I don't know. So just to back up a little bit from what we just said, there's always a but, right? But even with that, there's still, even someone who's in that place has the potential of waking up if they truly, truly deep down want to, I feel like, you know? Yeah. And so even with that, I feel like at least you're still, in a way, in the grand big picture thing, experiencing kind of the thing you need to experience, I guess, to grow or whatever your spirit or soul needs to do. But yeah,
we'll wrap up that topic. Is there anything else on the agenda for this discussion?
I don't know. Is there? Is something you wanted to bring up or anything? I know another thing that they mentioned on there, which is actually good that they are talking about this too, because I know a lot of people are like, what difference does it make if the Earth is flat or flat? We don't really know the exact shape, but we have a really good idea. We know it's not a ball that's spinning, right? But there's a lot of people that'll come to and say, "Who cares? I don't care if it's square, if it's round, or what, or a circle, or spherical. I meant spherical." But what difference does it make? And Martin Kidney brings up this a lot, how it is important to know where you are, and he says it actually really. Yes, eloquently. It's a 3-hour video. I think it's like 3.5 hours. So you're going to have to listen to it to know exactly what he said. But he put it very good, how it is important to know where you are. And I think we actually may have even said it in some of our other videos that we've made earlier, or like years ago or whatever. It's important to know where you are, like because the truth does matter,
Definitely. It's like a big part of that is, one is where you're at. This is planned. This is a part of what you're supposed to be existing, and you're part of this creation. The other one is you're just a random chance flying in the massive universe, spinning around, just a random chaotic moment that happened.
And if that's not, even if that were true, like the thing is that the truth is what is important, knowing what the truth is and having a layout of what is and what isn't, sort of. Yeah. It's like to navigate, like, you're not going to run around in circles because you actually have a map that's accurate, sort of thing.
It's definitely good to kind of like, because you can't go anywhere if like you don't know what you're doing or where you're at. It's just, you're just blind, and then you just believe what people tell you. It's like, if that's what you want to do, then that's what you want to do. But it's like, it's better to try to learn and understand instead of just listen to what people are just trying to tell you.
And so that would be why it's important to know what the actual structure of what we're living in or on, or existence in general. If your goal is to awaken, or at least move toward truth, that it's good to have a more accurate idea or knowledge of where you are. Another thing they brought up in this area is because, let's see, so some of them, I think they are wanting to go to the North Pole. And that's one of the... so the ascension, there's an ascension date or a time frame, and it's important to make it to the specific spot during this time frame. That's one of the ideas out there. I don't really... I guess, for me... that doesn't make sense to me. I mean, it makes sense. Okay, so I guess I have to put it this way, because we're individual consciousnesses, literally manifesting our reality. And we do it collectively, but we also do it individually. So on an individual and even a collective level, for some people, that's what they have to do. That's where they need to go, to a specific point. For others, I think that the same sort of ascension will happen where you are or where you decide to go to, and it may not be the same place that other people feel they need to go, if that makes sense. Does that make sense? Yes. Because I guess I know for sure the Earth plane has different portal areas where you can go into different dimensions or different frequencies. There's portals that you can go into, and they're all over the Earth plane. And I feel like the North Pole may be one point, but I feel like there's maybe other ways to get to a higher frequency place, if that makes sense, if that's what you're trying to do. I don't know, I feel like if you're following your inner compass, I guess I could put it that way, you will be at the place you need to be when you need to be there. And I don't feel like people need to get too caught up in, okay, we need to go here now, you know what I mean? That kind of thing. I hope I'm not steering anyone in the wrong direction, but that's just kind of, I don't know.
I wouldn't say you're steering anyone in the wrong direction, because it's like if you have a draw to the North Pole, then that's something you'll be wanting to do. It's like if you have a desire to like move to another state or another country, like there's a deep desire for some reason, that's probably where you need to be. If there's like you want to stay put, that's where you need to be. It's like, but the thing is, like, listen to yourself and not just do it because, like, oh, my job, I need to stay here because of my job. That's why I go.
Or go somewhere else with someone else. Someone said you need to go there.
Yeah, it's like, don't go somewhere because you feel like you have to, or it's like because someone's telling you to. It's like, go where you feel like you need to go. It's like, it's in you where you need to be.
Where your inner,
Yes, with your inner compass, as you say.
And that is important, I think, more important than, because even like teleportation, like I feel like we're moving to a place where we are going to be able to access different dimensions, teleport, and all this kind of stuff, where it's like where you are, the certain specific place that you're at is not, I'm going to say it's not going to be irrelevant, but it's, I don't know, I can't really explain, but I think you said it good. But yeah, so that's all I wanted to say on that part, I think. But yeah, the whole video was really, it was interesting. It was nice to listen to, because it's nice to see that there's other people out there giving information to people that want it, but putting it together in more of a balanced perspective sort of thing, I feel like. And that's what this was. Another thing they mentioned, which I thought was kind of funny, they talked about how when you're someone who is at a sort of you've learned, or your consciousness is sort of awakened to all this knowledge, and then you're trying to explain it to the rest of the community or like others, how it's not easy to do that.
Yeah. It's very interesting, because like you try to describe these things to someone that doesn't know, and you'll stumble on your words. You won't know exactly what to say. You don't know how to explain it so they'll understand it. But if you run into someone that has an understanding, it seems to flow so naturally. Like, even like they'll be able to, like, you'll be saying something and they'll be like, oh, I know exactly what you're saying before you even finish your statement, because like it's just in them and they understand it. So it's almost like you're speaking, as they were saying in the video, like telepathy. It's like you just start picking up pieces. Like, you don't have to be fully like researching the same things and whatnot.
Well, it's more like so when you are trying to, like, so if we go and try to explain like what we're talking about now to people, I would say just everyday people, because that's kind of what it's turning into. Like, I could literally just go into the supermarket and start trying to talk to someone, and they'll just look at me like, what the F are you talking about? And then just kind of like walk off, or kind of just like say something else that has nothing to do with what I was saying. Like, no, people can't hear what you're saying based on the words that you're trying to describe to them. And also, it's hard to put what you're saying into words. I think that was the main thing they were saying. It's hard to put, like, the things you've experienced as more awakened, and like I think Josh on the video was talking about how, like, there's the experiences he's had living off the land, pretty much, or you can't put that into words. It's difficult to. And I know exactly what they're saying, because it's like, you get to a point where you're like, someone asks you, or you say, let me explain this to you, and you're like, okay, how? And then you get all of this, like, it's like a big circle of like, how do I condense this down into a form where you can kind of get what I'm saying? You have to experience it yourself, and that's I think mainly with the awakened people, or people that are starting to awaken to all this stuff. I don't know what to call. We're trying to tell people about it, but we really want people to experience this, because telling you, we know it's not. I mean, it's gonna help obviously move some people along, but
yeah, it's hard. Like, if you were gonna tell someone, like, if you describe them like what water tastes like when you're drinking it, how refreshing it is, you're like, well, it's refreshing. It's nice. You drink it and it tastes good.
But they can experience
it, and that's what it's like. They need to experience it for themselves, because like you can describe it all day long, but they'll never understand unless.
Here, I have a better analogy. Trying to experience birth to someone who's never given birth before. Let me tell you how it is to push a baby out of you in labor for like however many hours. Trying to explain that experience to someone, you can't really like put that. Really, you can try, but it's not until they experience it themselves. It's you're doing the explanation of it injustice. You're like, you just go try it. But yeah, it's kind of like that. But basically, yeah, they talk about that for a little bit, and I was just one of the things I'm like, yeah, that's interesting. And I've actually always had this problem, like just communicating to people in general, trying to like communicate. I feel like telepathy works so much better. You know, I don't know why people use words. Like, I don't get it, but yeah.
So what else we got on the list?
Okay, so one other thing that they mentioned on there was how, and this is another thing, why I like the fact that they put this video out, because they talk about how these people, so us and like anyone else who has an inclination to awaken to the source, basically, truth and all this. So we do these, and this is where we are now. Actually, we've been at this point maybe for the last probably 5, maybe even 10 years, I don't know, where we've been awakening and sort of gaining our knowledge and like opening up to our skills, and now we're at the point where we need to start to come together physically and like do the things we need to do, pretty much. And they brought up the idea of like the Avengers movie, the new one, I guess, how all the superheroes get together to fight for a common cause, good or whatever, and like Captain Planet. I'm like, that's a really good, like, because I feel like we're at that point too where like it's action time. I feel like, you know, I've spent like the last, 4 or 5 years now, 4 or 5 years, I think it's been 4 years, diving really, really deep into the learning about all this and like expanding the consciousness and whatnot. And even though back then I was like new, obviously, and everyone knows like we need to do communities, we need to actually get together, and that was a little premature apparently, but now there's people actually talking about it in the truth community, and it's action time for the superheroes to get together and start working on saving the world. No, right?
Yeah, pretty much. It's like everyone's just bringing their piece, like their skill together. It's like when you have all these skills coming together, you create a whole, and like you can develop a true community that works hand in hand with everything. Like how people used to be, that we kind of got away from, and now people are starting to realize. Like even in the workplace, people are starting to realize they're like, I don't want to be doing this. I want to be doing something else. But it's like it doesn't pay me what I want.
It's like beyond that, though. It's like not like we're not talking about like getting together and like starting a grocery store or something. It's not. This is way beyond that. It kind of reminds me of the Fifth Element movie. It's like those elements, like we're each one of those elements, and we have to come together to help like do something big, that kind of thing. But their discussion is really interesting on it, so it's more toward the end of the video, but watch their video all the way through, of course, and when they get to that part, you can kind of see their perspectives on it. They had a really nice discussion about it.
Yeah, so what else we got left on this agenda for today?
You're like, move it along. The last thing that they talked about, and which I would like to bring up too, is like they brought out how we can't just sit and action is important, but believing in this change and how the world is going to change, and this whole ascension and like moving into, you know, the 3D world to the 5D world, and like being able to work in different frequencies, more in different dimensions, where us believing in that is what's going to bring this into reality. That's the whole manifesting your reality thing. But they had a really cool discussion there about how it's our belief in it is what's bringing it into existence. And that, I think, brings up the importance of how we need to not just think about it and say, well, it could happen, it couldn't, you know, who knows, I don't know, you know, it may happen, it may not. We have to literally birth this idea, this reality, you know, using our powers pretty much. And that's literally what we're doing by even having these discussions on YouTube or whatever, any of the Awakened community get together and have these discussions or think about it or whatever. That's what's happening. And that's interesting. Just how that works and watching how it's working. It's interesting, but
it's definitely happening. It's because people were at first they're thinking about it, and then they start talking about it, and then now people are starting to do it. It's the more people are thinking about it, talking about it, it's like it's spreading, it's growing, it's becoming a reality because it's we're all manifesting it together. It's like, this is why it's happening. It's not just because,
not because someone said it's going to happen at some point. It's because we are making this happen. This is how reality works. Like, existence happens because we bring things into the physical world with our intentions and
Exactly. It's gonna be great, everybody. It's gonna be fantastic. Everything's going in a positive direction. Even if you're where you're at right now, it's like you don't know if you're gonna continue to be there or if you're gonna change. You don't know, but enjoy it regardless.
Enjoy it. Be in that space of your highest happiness or vibration or whatever you want to call it. Just be happy about everything. Enjoy life. Enjoy the process. Be kind to yourself and others, and just help move this thing along, right?
Exactly. All right, that about wraps it up. Anything else you want to add?
Peace out, everyone.